Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today I have with me Mr. Clarke Boozer, and I am so excited to talk to him. He's going to talk about some issues that are very dear to my heart, so I'm glad to have him on board today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, and Ankh Ujasaneb, which means life, prosperity, and health, my friends.
I love it, love it, love it. Where am I speaking to you from today?
Portland, Oregon.
Oregon. I read some, and most people don't realize it. Well, most of us don't realize it, but there's a large Black culture population, historical population of Oregon in there that we don't really know about.
Yes, that is correct, especially like during around after World War II.
Mm-hmm.
We have a place out here between Portland and we border Washington State, so Vancouver, Vanport.
Okay, yeah, I think I had read. Go ahead, dude. I'm cutting you off.
Oh no, I had a pop-up block my view of you, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had read. I think it was Oregon or is it Washington that there was like the first Black hotel was up there.
Yeah, that'd be in Portland in our downtown area. The name of it actually slips my mind, but I know exactly where it is. There's like rich history.
Awesome history. We as Black people, we have touched everywhere on this globe, and some of us don't realize it. I think we need to realize that.
Right.
Awesome. So we're going to talk today about something, like I said earlier, that is very near and dear to my heart. You're a brother with old school values. Now, when you say old school values, because you got some new cats out here that swear up and down that they got, some values too. So what's the difference that you see between old school and new school values, first of all?
Well, the old school values, first of all, my dad raised me to conduct myself as a gentleman at all times. And that means, a lot of younger cats think they know it, but do you know that it's proper when a woman excuses herself from the table, like when you're out eating, that you need to stand up?
Mm-hmm.
You know that it's proper to make sure that you pull her chair out and then push it back in as she sits down.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I mean by old school values, referring to the people that are your elders as Mr. and Mrs. instead of by first name. I know it kind of blows my mind, when my stepson has his friends over and they all want to try to call me by my first name. I'm not having that.
Mm-hmm. So somewhere along the way, we've lost the way. So how did that happen, do you think? What do you attribute to that?
I think the main thing was basically the destruction of the Black family as a unit as we know it. Okay. I mean, if you look back, I don't know what year you were born, but I was born in the early 60s. And
1969, so I'm not far behind you.
So you're 1963. And at that time, I believe it was 70% of Black households were intact, with the father and the mother in the household. And now, I mean, the number is probably closer to 20%, somewhere between 20 and 30%. I'm not exactly sure about
Yes.
So if you don't have those role models in the home, for one, it's going to be hard, to continue on that tradition. And so, my father was in my ear at all times, showing me as well as telling me what to do. I mean, you can say one thing, but you got to see. It has to be demonstrated.
You got to have that example. So there's been a lot of talk, especially folks in our age bracket, about how this whole process started with the breakdown of the Black family structure. And a lot of us have come to the conclusion, or like to believe, that it started with the introduction of social services into the Black community. So that was forcing Black men to leave the household, breaking down family structures or anything. Do you believe there's any validity to that?
I believe that is a huge part of it. I would also like to add that if you think back about, the type of jobs that existed in the neighborhoods back then, especially like in Southern California, you had a lot of factory jobs. So it's part of a systemic process. First, close down those jobs. Boom, then you lose an income. Then you say, okay, we have these social services available, but in order to qualify, you can no longer have the man in the household. So then we had these, a whole bunch of families that had men traditionally leaving the household and everything that can no longer do so. So all of a sudden, that's where that Papa becomes Papa is a Rolling Stone. That's where that comes from. Because basically, if the woman can't have the man in the household to qualify for those services, what are you going to do?
True. So we're going to have a breakdown in the family structure. Now, when I walk around today and I'm looking at a lot of the younger kids, and especially younger Black females, there's this prevalent attitude of, I don't need a man. I don't need a man. I could do it by myself. And I'm like, you do need a man. You do need that yin and yang, you do need that by yourself. I mean, by your side to do what you're trying to do, to raise the next generation of our kids. Why do you think women, younger girls, and I'm not really, now that I'm thinking about it, because I do hear women in my age bracket say the same thing. Uh, why, and where do you think this philosophy comes with in women? I don't need a man.
Well, the philosophy is coming from now, what, about 3 generations, maybe even 4 generations now, of not having a man in the household, for one. Mm-hmm. And then if you see your mom struggling and going through all these different relationships and she gets frustrated and say, I don't see a man, well, of course, you're going to imprint yourself on what you saw your mama go through. But then also you got to look at the roles that we see in the media. I mean, how many television shows come on, I mean, with all this cable and stuff, that just shows Black women in a negative role? I mean, mm-hmm. First thing that pops in my mind, when I think about it, it's like Hip Hop Wives of Atlanta and all that type of stuff. I mean, it's glorifying dressing like a hoochie, just talking about their friends, their mamas, their boyfriends, whatever, in any kind of way. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's the respect factor is all gone.
Okay. So, and we have these conversations, Clarke, all the time, over and over again. And for me, it gets very exhausting. How do we stop talking and make some change?
Well, that old saying that we have, it takes a village. Mm-hmm. That's what it's going to take. I mean, there's, and the question is how to channel everybody into that. So one of the things I've been working on up here in Portland is trying to figure out a way where you can actually bring in the services that the community needs and also help that community, produce jobs, all right? Okay. Start creating that generational wealth, because that's what it's going to take. You got to have, if there's no money in it, mm-hmm. It's going to be very hard. And so if you got jobs that the women can do, to start making money, then all of a sudden you got jobs to get these brothers off the streets and start actually, being productive and stuff. And because, I mean, I'm not in that mindset in that age group, but I'm thinking, well, if I can get a job making $15 an hour over here and I can go sell a couple of these packages and make me a few grand, what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. Thankfully, I didn't have to make that choice. Mm-hmm. So we got to have jobs available out there that will, provide a decent income. And then also the incentive, basically, maybe, I don't know if it's through like taxes or whatever, but, to have like an intact household.
Okay. Now, creating jobs and creating generational wealth, I mean, because the reality is a lot of moving forward does count or is relying on economics, finance, or whatever. And so going back to what you said earlier, having old school values. I remember my dad, my grandfather, my uncles, or whatever it took to take care of the family. If I needed to get 2 jobs, 3 jobs, whatever, I'm going to do what I need to make this money for the household. Now, when you circulate around younger generation men folk today, it's quick. I need it quick, and I'm not going to work no man's job or whatever. So there's a different attitude about doing what it takes to bring money in the household. So like what you're doing up there, trying to create these jobs. Also, do you see a struggle with the effort that the people want to put into actually getting the job, doing the job, when you're making these resources for them?
Oh yeah, that's huge, because okay. I mean, they're only thinking in terms of short term. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is because several of us don't believe that we're going to be around for the long term. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I used to work with the kids, you would be surprised at how many didn't think they were going to make it to 25. I mean, statistics show that a good portion would. Yeah. And so you got to give them something that they can kind of have a sense of pride in. I mean, like, if you can see the quality of your neighborhood improving, that's why I'm thinking we got to buy back the block, as Nipsey said, and you can start providing that way. Then all of a sudden it's like, hey, man, this is pretty cool. Okay. And so if you create these, the jobs, the businesses, and so we can continually buy Black, that's how you start pumping this money in there. And
Okay.
so that's what we have to be able to convince them. I think what's going to need to happen is we're going to have to start getting these kids when they're in elementary school, even
Mm-hmm.
kindergarten, and kind of role modeling that and showing them that this is the way. We
Okay.
got to compete against whatever. I don't watch videos on TV anymore, but we got to compete against that message that we're seeing there.
Yeah.
That's, showing all this fast money, the cars and the jewelry and all that. And got to say,
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's very important, especially for our kids, to show them, because I think they're trained at a young age, that the way to success, the way to have some money in your pocket, is either you're looking at the brother on the street hustling, or you're looking at somebody who's in the rap game, or you're looking at somebody with a ball in their hand. So I think we need to teach our young kids that there are some very viable ways to make money, make large amounts of money, and live comfortably, that don't revolve around those. I mean, um, you could go in trade school and be a plumber, and or something like that, but I think we need to be teaching our kids that there's other ways to make a large amount of money and have this lifestyle that you see, that don't require those playing a sport, or rapping for somebody, or those kinds of things. We need to show our kids options.
I'm so glad you said that, because it brings me to this thought right here. One of the biggest problems is that we have as a people is that we've had, this systemic process against us that's made us think that the only way to make it is to work for some company, and you're gonna work until you're 65 or 70 now, and then hopefully you'll have a decent retirement. So we don't teach the fact that we have this creative ability. Hell, I didn't realize that I had creative ability until like about 2 years ago. And I'm in my mid-50s. I'm thinking like, damn, if I would have known
Mm,
that then, what kind of
mm-mm.
empire would I have built up by now? Because the
Okay.
possibilities are limitless.
Yes, yes.
So,
Yeah.
if you see your kid, say for example that you have a son, and like for single moms out there, and you see that son fascinated by hair, and he's playing around in hair and all that. And next thing you know, he's putting braids in better than you. But instead of making fun of him, talking down to him, saying that he's doing something that quote that only a gay folks would do for a man, you know, just pump him up, because
Mm-hmm.
you never know. He
Yeah.
might be like the hairstylist of Hollywood someday.
There you go. There you go.
know, I can think, of course, I came up in that time when you worked for a company, and my thing was broadcast media in college, right? I mean, I was into like being a DJ on the radio, and my dad just thought I was down there partying and stuff. And so and it was like, but he didn't have the foresight, the vision to see that you have these programs like XM satellite radio. I mean, I'm looking at these cats now, they're making like six-figure income just getting out there
Yes.
doing what they
Yes.
love doing, spinning records and talking mess.
Yes. Yes.
And if you can see it, you can be it.
Yes, yes. And I do want to pause and say that I have my complaints about some of the younger generation going this direction, but I do know a lot of I do see a lot of the younger generation that are being very proactive. They're very woke, and they're doing things to make some changes. Like, I know a lot of young Black couples, and they're homeschooling their children, and they're teaching them about self, making them aware of their history, their ancestors. I know some young Black couples that are at a young age. They have kids that are 10, starting their own business and stuff like that. So we do have, I have my complaints, but I have my praises as well. So I do see it. I do want to give my love and shout out to the young folks out there, the generation under me that's really trying to make some change.
Yeah, and I see a lot of that now on Instagram. I follow a couple of hashtags like I think it's like Black business and Black
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur and all that. And I'm seeing that, you see these little 10-year-old. Matter of fact,
Yes.
I saw two 10-year-old brothers that started a cookie business.
Yes. Yes.
you
And you
know,
have to, I mean, you have to be shown at a young age, that I have some options here, especially for young Black boys, because they're the first ones that the system want to take and suck up and put them behind bars or under the ground, under 6 feet under the ground. So,
yeah, exactly.
okay. Okay. That's good. So now, do you have struggles as a Black man talking to younger Black men? Do you find a disconnect talking to younger brothers?
Not so much. I mean, they're on a totally different level, but there's, my wife's always telling me I need to get back into working with the youth again, because I just kind of have this way of connecting with them. I don't know what it
Okay.
is, but like my stepson, he plays football, And I was out there in the field with him this summer watching this because this is his first year, you know, and I was like, oh, he doesn't even know what he's doing out there. So I was being that protective parent. But, you know, his boys were out there, you know, at a water break, and they were saying in this, in that. And, you know, I live out here in a predominantly white neighborhood in the suburbs and stuff. And so I pulled them aside. I said, look, when do you think it's cool to actually say that? Why? You see where you're going to school at? I said, you got all these cats around here. They're soaking it up. They want to be black. So the first thing they're going to do is say, hey, what's up, my nigga? And then you're going to want to punch them in the mouth. And
yes.
how would that be?
Yeah. I have issues with it. I was never raised to say that word. You know, I kind of like, you know, keep my mouth shut when I hear my folks saying it, like, okay, that's your preference. It's not my preference or whatever. But when we get in mixed company, it gets complicated, and I'm confused as to why my folks don't understand. It gets complicated when we're in mixed company. We can't, you know, just freely use that word and not expect for them to use it back as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just trying to connect with them and just give them my perspective, and they seem to like really soak it up. Okay. And I had a young man over my house last week, good friends with my stepson, and so I just had him come out here and sit in my garage, and he started asking me questions. And so I started talking about, you know, meditation and all that. And so he asked me about 432 hertz. And I thought, wait a minute. So you know what I'm talking about. I said, this young man, 16, I said, he knows about the 432 hertz. I said, okay, maybe you just heard that randomly. So I started asking him about it, and he tells me about some Bob Marley songs that were done in that exact, you know, vibrational frequency.
Yes.
And so I explained to him that that was the frequency of nature, the natural frequency of our whole universe, and that our ancestors had all their instruments tuned to that frequency.
Okay.
So, I mean, he just like was just hungry for more. And so I started talking about, you know, the purpose of the pyramids and the Vegenetter and stuff, and how like all religions.
Oh, the Metanet. Okay, he's on point.
Well, he called it the hieroglyphics, but you know,
okay.
About that. I said that's just a European term.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so I mean, there's lots of kids out there that want to soak it up, and so I think if they, you know, if we can get enough of them to soak it up, and then their peers start kind of like, okay, man, he's got something to say, then we can start changing. But it's not something that's going to happen overnight.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, the path, we're so far off the path. It's going to take us a minute to get back on path. And get back on track. Now, another thing we're battling as Black folks, and some of us saw us coming, some of us saw it coming, some of us were, you know, yelling at the top of our voice when it was coming, and some of us were just clueless. But this is concept of gentrification. I don't know, is it going on there in Oregon?
It's going on because I had a job as a bus operator here, and I remember I got out into the side of town that used to be like all white, and we didn't go past like 82nd Avenue. That's where all the brothers just stopped.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm like way out into what they call the numbers now. And I'm like, what are all these Black folks doing on the bus? And then when I went the other way into the old neighborhood, like all these, you know, young white folks were getting off. I'm like, man, something's really changed out here. And so, you know, I think about that movie Boys in the Hood, when Lawrence Fishburne was talking with them about regentrification. So I've been around here enough to see that now.
Okay, so full circle. So is there any pushback in Oregon?
Not so much, because we just don't have the sheer numbers to do anything about it. And, you know, it's like they moved all the low-income housing out to what they call the numbers now.
Okay.
Because before, where I grew up in the Northeast neighborhood, and they, you know, that used to be an area where a lot of white folks wouldn't dare come in there at certain times at night. And now you can't touch a house over there for, you know, under $750,000.
Wow. Wow.
And so then, you know, if you want to find affordable housing to purchase a house, you know, you got to move like, you know, 20, 25 miles outside the metro area.
Okay. Now, and that's another complex issue we have as a Black people. You know, you want to create the best lifestyle for yourself and your family. And, you know, sometimes what happens is, you know, we get the good job and we're able to afford a better house, which requires us to move out of our neighborhoods. And then you have these kids, you put them in the the best educational opportunities that they have. So now you've created a situation where you're possibly living around a whole bunch of white folks, your kids are going to school around a whole bunch of white folks, and then your people are like, oh, so you just left us behind or whatever. Is there some sort of way to balance out this whole dynamic? Because it seems to be a struggle. Like, I want the best for myself, but, you know, I still want to be Black.
Right. Well, you know, it's not so much of an issue here because, like I said, we don't have the numbers really.
Okay.
I mean, you get some of that from the family. Like one of my wife's sisters says, "Oh, you come out here and live with the rich folks." I mean, but the truth of the matter is, we came out here because we couldn't afford to get a comfortable home in the neighborhood in which I grew up.
Oh, okay. Okay,
You
because
know,
it had been, okay, all right.
yeah, I mean, you know, it's really nice out here and the square footage is nice and everything, but you know, the area where I grew up in and stuff is like you're paying so much more. And then the county, Multnomah County, the tax structure is so horrible there.
Okay.
I mean, anytime they want to do something to the schools, they got to raise taxes here. We got the highest gasoline taxes next to California.
Oh, wow. Wow. And did I read correctly? I'm off topic here, but did I read correctly? Oregon is struggling or did something with the homeless population? You guys created some housing or something like that?
Well, the problem is the average price of a 2-bedroom apartment in the Portland area is $1,400. Okay, and that's not a nice. That's just you know. And then in some of these apartments, like you get in these trendy areas, like closer to downtown. I mean, these people are paying $3,500, $4,000 a month for studios in some parts. I mean, it's almost like New York City in some areas.
Wow, I would not have expected Oregon to be, you know, a high cost of living. You know, like a Los Angeles or San Diego or New York. I would have not, you know, that's my own ignorance, I guess.
You know, part of it is that it's desirable as far as, you know, people that love to do outdoor activities and stuff.
Okay.
Because I've actually done this. Where else can you be snowboarding in the morning and then be flying a kite on the beach in the same day?
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, you've mentioned a couple of times that the Black community in Portland is small. Have you been there long? Is that where you were born and raised?
I've been here all 56 years of my life.
Oh, how'd your people get up there?
Well, so my mom's father worked on the railroad. And, you know, everybody back then, now there was a tight-knit Black community then because you had all the people that came up here from like World War II and all that for the shipyard jobs and stuff. And so, and then my dad, not sure exactly how his mom came out here, but he was originally born in Chicago.
Okay, chicken in the car and the car don't go.
Yeah.
Chicago's another city that's struggling with gentrification. Well, it started a long time ago. I don't know if you still keep up with the history, but they tore down all of the projects there, relocated us to all different areas. Now we've got crime all over the place. They're wondering why. We don't know, but you know, it's just you know, everybody's looking for that prime real estate now, and
right.
We tended to be where it was at.
Yeah, exactly. You know, if you read what gentrification is, they always, you know, it's basically separating people by like barriers, like by freeways and stuff like that. And so that Black, you know, community that my parents grew up in, what's down there now is where the Portland Trail Blazers play at, you know, the Rose Quarter. Then they put a freeway in down there. And so it displaced us. And, you know, a lot of us stayed, you know, a little bit in Northeast Portland, but once they, you know, drove the property values up and, you know, a lot of the job opportunities were lost, that's when people started going further and further out. And so now you just have, you know, little areas where, you know, okay, you got a couple hundred over here, you know.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I mean, percentage-wise, we don't even make up 7% of the population.
I didn't know that. Okay, I'm learning stuff. Now, and home ownership, and we've been talking about gentrification and all of that stuff, but home ownership is something that was really, really pushed and taught, I know in my age bracket, but when I'm talking to a lot of millennials and stuff like that, they don't really seem to have any concerns about owning a home. And I think that's very concerning to me because I think that's how you get your peace. That's how you get some financial stability. That's how you create generational wealth. I have something now to leave to the kids and family, but young kids don't seem to have any interest in owning homes.
Well, you know, I think a lot of that because for one, we don't really teach financial literacy like we should. Okay. 2, there's a lot of responsibility that comes along with a home. And a lot of times, if you've been renting a home or come up in a place where your mom's been renting a home, say, and you see all that yard work and all that, you're like, I'm cool with all that. Maybe it'd be better to get an apartment or a condo and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other factor is that it's just unattainable for so many people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm trying to figure out. I have a 22-year-old son, a 28-year-old daughter, and then my stepson is 16. And so I'm trying to figure out how in the hell are they going to actually afford to buy a home? Unless they wait till I die.
Yeah. We got the policy money. We got the. It's like I said, the things that we had to set up some sort of financial future for the next generation. These kids today just don't have those avenues. I mean, I could tell you, today my mother is living in the family home that my grandfather bought, that I can now say 4 generations have laid their head there. So that is something that's being able to pass on into the family. But kids don't have that today.
No, and then another thing I just thought of as you were talking about, 4 generations in the same household. One of the things that they were doing here before they really gentrified the Northeast area was you had all these elderly folks, elderly grandmas and great grandmas, their husbands are dead now. And so they might not have had the financial wherewithal. And all of a sudden you got these developers coming in and offering cash for houses.
Mm-hmm.
And you had so many people that sold their house. Oh, this guy offered me $250,000 for the house. And she might not have known that she could have got $450,000 to $500,000 for that same house.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another reason why these homes aren't there and able to be passed down.
Yeah, it's a whole big old scheme, and I wish at times that a lot of us were just more aware. Like I can even go back decades ago in Los Angeles. We had a 105 freeway that was built, and it had to be built through our neighborhood. And the city of Los Angeles came through and declared eminent domain and just was pushing us out of the houses and where did these people go? Where did these people displaced to? But I just really wish a lot of times that we just sat down and got the knowledge, got the information so that we could safeguard a lot of our communities and the direction of our communities.
Right. And of course in LA, they did the same thing with the Latino population when they built Dodger Stadium.
Yes.
That's why I'm surprised that so many Mexicans still love the Dodgers.
They love the Dodgers. And they love, what's that I see there behind you? The Raiders.
Hey, every time I go to a game, that's who I hang out with, man.
Yes, indeed. That is their team, the Raiders. Yes, indeed. I'm a Saints fan, so I don't participate in any of that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go Saints.
Go Saints. There go Saints. So we got a 7% African-American population in Portland. But is there a migration coming there? Are people moving there a lot?
Well, not so much from African Americans. We're getting a lot of Africans. So like our Somalian population is growing like huge, Ethiopian population.
Okay.
And, I mean, that's all good for me. I mean, because, they're our brothers and sisters.
There you go.
But, we got to figure out a way to connect with them because for some reason there's been this disconnect, that I'm not from Africa. It's like, yeah, you're black no matter where you're from.
Okay. So I guess it's a matter of time because in Los Angeles, Ethiopians walk up to me all the time and, so I guess it's just a process. So it'll come in time. You just got to coexist together and realize that, we're all one. But, there's this whole, and I'm really excited about it, especially for African Americans. There's this really resurgence of trying to find and seek who we are and where we come from. I think I was blessed being born in 1969. My parents were young. They were 18 when they had me. But my mother, when I was in her belly, she was doing the free lunch program for the Black Panthers and stuff like that. So, like at a young age, I was conscious of it. But now I see like with the trip to Ghana, go back home. So we're trying to soak it in. We're trying to, kind of get some awareness. And I'm really, really excited about that because unless you know who you are, where you came from and all of that stuff, anybody can pull any kind of flim flam on you, but it just gives you a sense of self.
Yeah. And, how I really found out about myself, I did something that a lot of Black folks, especially us men, won't do. I sought some therapy from a mental health specialist.
Okay.
And it was actually a white lady at my job who recommended me to this brother that taught African-based psychology. And
Awesome.
so the first question he asked me when I sat down was, how well do you know yourself? I
Okay.
thought it was the strangest question. Like, I know myself real well. What are you talking about?
Uh-huh.
But, then he like broke down the dynamics of it, talks about our rich history and all that. And then I saw the connection. And as I started learning more and more about myself, I just became so much more empowered.
Okay.
And I mean, especially, once I got into the whole meditation thing and connecting with the universe and the fact that I'm an infinite being. So now when
Yeah.
somebody asks my age, I tell them, I say, I've been here since the beginning of time.
There you go. Awesome. I love it. I love it. And you brought up something that I think is wonderful, and it's something that I struggle with. I was born in 1969, and I'm a widow. So, sometimes I have to circulate in a community of men in my age bracket. And it can be frustrating when you are dealing with men in your age bracket who don't have sense of self, who are reluctant to or shun the concept of seeking mental health like you did. And so it's refreshing to hear that. But what can we do for older men, because there is a stigma, there is a stereotype, is there anything that we can do to kind of say, hey, maybe you should sit down and talk to somebody, maybe, here's some tools to learn who you are and sense of self? I mean, because I think that will also change the direction of a lot of things, because we need to get
Well,
more mentors out there.
yeah, I think the biggest thing is the trust factor, of
Uh-huh.
course. And so I think what we really need to do, first of all, we need to get more people that look like you and me into the field.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, they need to learn about African-based psychology, because if they keep regurgitating the same thing that their white counterparts are doing, I mean, heck, I'm not going to want to go see him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, and so, the first thing they want to do is put you on some sort of medication.
True.
And the problem is we've been carrying all this pain, which is cellular, for generations.
It's in
And
the
then,
DNA. It's in the DNA.
if
Yeah.
we've been taught if we go home and, share our problems with our women, then that makes us look weak. And, even though like my wife, she's the biggest supporter, and she's always saying, and I'm still working on this, you got to talk to me, baby. You got to tell me these
Yes.
things.
Yes. Yes. That is the struggle. That is the struggle there to, get you guys to talk. I don't,
Yeah.
hey, we're supposed to be your cocoon, your safe haven. But, um, and I tell every man that I meet, I'm not a man, I don't pretend to be, but I know it gets heavy. And then when you add on being a black man, it has to be heavier. But understand, I'm put here on this earth to be yin and yang. So come on, we got to come on, talk to me. But it's a struggle. It's a struggle. So
Yes, indeed.
yeah, yeah. So I feel for your wife, but I'm hoping that you guys are coming around and you're getting better at it.
Yeah, I'm getting better. As one of the things I've been doing. See, I'm physically disabled now. I'm out on medical disability, and
Okay.
so one of the things I've been doing to keep my mind busy is I started writing music again, and I hooked up with this one brother by the name of Ultra Van Chrome, who has a hot track out now, and he actually wants me to actually get in the studio and start recording.
Okay.
I started writing songs again, and I wrote this song that just poured out all my feelings and why I wasn't talking and all that. And you know what? That just like opened up my heart so much more. So,
Okay.
yeah, so just really getting in touch with our feelings is something that is very important. And, we just can't feel like it's a sign of a weakness, because everybody has those stresses. Why do you think our life expectancy as a black man is so much less than that of our white counterparts?
Yes, indeed. And
So,
so many health issues, and it's just so many things that are you guys are behind the ball on, or working. It's playing against you, like prostate cancer, high blood pressure, diabetes is more prevalent in black men. And speaking from a black woman's perspective, you're trying to encourage and you're trying to say, okay, my fellas, my brother, baby, whatever, come on, let's take care of this. But it's just really a fight with the concept of manhood, to kind of get you guys to go and take care of these things.
well, that's it exactly. And, I saw the statistic the other day on Instagram, 95% of all chronic diseases and death, premature death, is caused by diet and lack of exercise.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, you know, I look around my family, my wife's family, and I see what kind of foods they're eating. The only time there's something green on the plate, it's been cooked down for hours and it's been added with like pork fat, you know? And so we got to become conscious of what we're putting in our body. And dealing with the chronic illnesses I have for the past 18 years, I've really made a shift in the foods I've consumed, and I'm now completely vegan.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm not there. I've been vegetarian for 20 years. I'm not vegan, but I understand what you put into your body really has a play in your overall health. And one of the things that really concerns me, especially as Black folks, and I don't know if you guys have, because you have such a small community there in Portland, but when you go to cities that have a very large Black population, it's what they call a food desert. So you see that they're planting these very unhealthy eating food sources in our community, and really just only providing us ways to kill ourselves, and it costs you $5 for a salad, but $1 for a hamburger. But that's in our community. But you can go over to like Beverly Hills and they have all the healthy Whole Foods and all of that stuff right there.
Right. Well, one of the things for the Black folks that are still left over in the North and Northeast side is they have put a few what we call new season markets. It's something that's exclusive to the Northwest, I guess, especially here in Oregon.
It's a health food. It's a health food place.
Yeah, it's kind of like your Whole Foods, but it's
okay.
expensive as Whole Foods.
Okay.
You spend $60 at Whole Foods and come out with maybe 2 bags if you're lucky. But you can still. The good thing is that the rest of these places are now starting to get quality organic produce, like the Safeways, the Krogers. I don't know what y'all call them. You're down in LA. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but as far as the food deserts, I actually saw a video documentary on that a while back, and I mean it's so true. Because I think about like the neighborhoods in North Portland where the Black folks used to live. You had little Jimmy's Corner Market, and they got this dude frying these big ass chicken wings that are like, they got some sort of steroids because no chicken.
Yes. That was my whole thing. Even though I'm vegetarian, that was my whole thing when I was watching it play out on social media with the Popeye's chicken sandwich. And I was sitting back there like, y'all know they can't make all these chickens that quick. Something going on here. That's just way too much chicken. So, but we're such consumers. We buy into this consumer. And where are all the Popeye's chickens at? They're not in the white folks community.
No, white folks got to come in to find Popeyes. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell you, out here in where I live out here in Happy Valley, there is not a Popeyes anywhere around here. It's like you go into the neighborhood, you see McDonald's, Taco Bell, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Popeyes within like a quarter-mile radius. Out here, you have a Taco Bell, which is about 1.5 miles down that way, and McDonald's, which is about maybe 1 mile the other way. But, it's not like that. And you definitely don't see a Popeyes out here.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I think, and that requires us, and that's another challenge here, and I'm taking up more of your time, but that requires us as Black people to start circulating out of our community to see what's going on in other communities. As long as we stay where we're at, we think it's normal. But when you start traveling around, you're like, hey, why don't y'all have that? Or why is this only here? But until we start moving around, we see how we are being played and done wrong and done dirty. Like, oh, you're killing us with the food. Your medical facilities are only prescribing these kind of drugs to our kids. Why is that? We need to start moving about and seeing what's going on.
Right. And you were talking about other communities. When I was in Oakland back in, when was that, November for a football game. And a buddy I went to middle school with, we hung out, and he said, you want to go to lunch? I'm like, sure. And he said, there's a vegan soul food restaurant. And I said, okay, so it's called Soleil's. I went there, and man, was it good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not 100% healthy, but it's way better than, like the pulled pork. They had like a fried tofu. It's actually, it's like a big fruit, not the star fruit. They shred that up, and it looks just like pulled pork. Tastes great.
What's it, jackfruit?
Jackfruit, that's it.
Jackfruit. Okay, yeah. And that's what a lot of your larger metropolitan Black communities, they are kind of getting ahead of the ball. Like you go to Atlanta, there's a lot of vegan soul food, a lot of homeschooling. There's a lot of progressive movement there. Los Angeles, there's a lot of progressive movement in the Black community. But sometimes I go places for speaking and such or whatever, and it's really like, I need y'all to move a little faster. I need y'all to pick up the pace. Especially, because I was born in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And, I go home sometimes and, I love my family. And I tell my mother and dad all the time, I think the thing that has saved me health-wise or whatever is being removed from that, because it's still the fried chicken and the ham. And I'm like, whoo, y'all killing yourself. You're killing yourself.
And they don't want to hear it.
I don't want to hear it. And I gotta say, I love y'all to death, but I can't do it. I can't do it. I know better. I do better. But I used to be like that, that sweet tea and pickled pig's feet and all that stuff. But you learn, you have to intake knowledge. You have to continue to intake knowledge and learn and grow, because they out there trying to kill us.
So I read this book called Shifting the Paradigm. It's an African-American guide to basically wellness through our diet and all that. And it talked about, the food that we were originally designed to eat and what we ate back then. Mm-hmm. And you'll find that most of the stuff that, I eat now as a vegan is the stuff that my ancestors ate back then.
There you go.
We came up here and got all the scraps from massa and all that, figured out a way to jazz it up.
That's
and
right.
All of a sudden that became the expectation. And so, I'm sure you probably get this too. Then you up there eating like them white folks.
No, I'm eating how my body's designed. And when you try to educate, like you say to them, like, your digestive system is not even meant to digest meat. You don't even have canines to eat meat. And you try to explain that and you just get the dumb look like, well, I'm still going to eat my pork chop. Okay, fine, whatever. I can't. Whatever. You're not even designed to eat that, but my philosophy now is I try as much as possible, to eat things as they came into this world. That's where I'm supposed to be. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. So, but I preach every now and then, and you get it. If you don't, I keep it pushing. I wish the best for you.
Yeah, so what I try to do is lead by example. So I have a Facebook page called You Matter, Be Healthy. And so I'll go on there and demonstrate how to cook certain things and talk about different, macronutrients that are in these foods. My next video, I'm actually going to put up some menus from like McDonald's and Taco Bell and that kind of thing and show them, like if you're only supposed to be getting 1,200 calories a day to maintain, and you go get this value meal at 1,500 calories, you're 300 calories over on that one meal alone, and let alone those calories do not have any type of nutritional.
Yeah, they're empty calories. Yeah.
And so what I've noticed around here at the house is, my wife, she's one of those that got to have her meat. I mean, she eats meat like she's a bodybuilder. And I mean, seriously, big old steaks.
Oh, wow.
And, I'll still throw them on the barbecue for her, but she's starting to get curious. I'll cook something. She said, that smells good. And she'll try. And she's like, hey, that's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's, she's still trying to be stubborn, but I think she's kind of seeing a light now.
Yeah. Yeah, and usually that's the conversation I have with people. Well, I've always ate this. I'm always going to eat this. But then, the more you're around somebody and they start to see what you're doing, they're like, okay, maybe I can do. A lot of it is just, it's been habit. We have been trained and taught this is how you're supposed to eat. So we assume that this is how we're supposed to eat. But when you see somebody else doing it, like lead by example, but the vegan vegetarian population among Black people is just taking off in leaps and bounds. I'm so proud. I'm so, I'm just so happy because it's just a much healthier lifestyle overall.
Yeah, and I was really happy when I hit the hashtag like Black Vegan and saw how many actual posts there was. I was like, okay, check us out.
Yes, we out there doing it. Restaurants and food trucks, and it's just everything. We doing the most. I really love it because it's a better lifestyle. Well, I could probably talk to you for another 20, 30 minutes, but I don't want to take up more of your time today. And I do this thing at the end called random question.
Okay.
And then I'm going to let you tell people how to, because you said you had a Facebook page and all this stuff. So I'm going to let everybody know how they can get in touch with you. So we're going to do this real quick. Let's see what we got here. Random question. Oh, what is your least favorite food?
Least favorite food? Anything out of pork. I will not touch it. Well,
I'll tell you a funny story about pork. So I like to tell my parents that, I don't know, I've always just naturally been in tune, but I come from Southern parents. Winston-Salem, North Carolina, it don't get no more Southern than those two. But in the 11th grade, I had started to read some things on my own, but in the 11th grade, I walked to the kitchen one morning and told my mom and dad, I'm not going to eat pork anymore. Bacon on the table, eggs, grits, all that stuff. Dad looked at me like, whose kid is this? But I stopped pork in the 11th grade. You know, it just something about that pig. And, you know, I watched the video. I was like, oh, no, we're not going to do that. No, we're not going to. We're not going to do that. All righty, Clarke. Well, tell everybody, because you have some resources out there for people to get in touch with you. Let everybody know how they can connect with you. And,
all right. Well, on Facebook, you can find me at Clarke, CLARKE, the letter C. Then it's Boozadelic, BOOZADELIC. And that was kind of a name given to me because I belong to this Parliament Funkadelic group, and somebody kind of called me that one day, and so I took it. And then on YouTube, just type in my name, Clarke Boozer, CLARKE BOOZER. I try to post content weekly dealing with health, nutrition, self-knowledge, all kinds of cool stuff. And Instagram at Clarke C. Boo. And follow me. I also have a page, 2 pages on Facebook. I have You Matter, Be Healthy. Anyone can join that. Then for the brothers and sisters out there, I got another page called Kemetic, spelled KEMETIC, Fortitude, FORTITUDE. Find a whole bunch of knowledge about self on that page.
Love it.
So
love it.
just send me a friend request, and I'll go ahead and send you an invite to that group.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. I've had a good time talking to you. I could probably talk to you for a couple more hours. So every now and then you run across some people that have like minds, so it's refreshing.
Well, if you ever want to do another show, you got my email. Go ahead, hit me up. I'll be happy to come on.
Awesome. All righty, well, I wish you all the best, and I'm gonna get to that vegan thing. It's just the cheese thing. I got to find some sort of vegan substitute for cheese, because that's
There is some great vegan cheese. Even my wife said it tasted like cheese. It just doesn't melt like cheese, but it tastes exactly like it.
Okay, yeah, that is my only, I think, hold up from it is the cheese. But once I get there, it'll be done, because I don't do milk. I can't.
Yeah, we weren't designed for it.
Oh no, but that's it. All right, well, that's it for today's show. I am your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time. Oh.